AOC recently disclosed that she has no individual stock holdings. Tim Walz famously said he doesn't have any investments. Do you think this is just financial irresponsibility, or do you think it's a good thing that they don't have a financial interest in maybe some of the measures that they're putting forward?
So, I mean, I'll talk about the Tim Walz and AOC thing. I don't know enough about it. She's young. But like Tim Walz, it's very interesting. It's like, so on one hand, you're like, wow, he can't be bought. On the other hand, it's like, wow, you're like really bad with money. like you're kind of old and like you don't have any stocks.
Well, he has a pension.
Okay, fine. But I mean, like, okay, I get it that he was a football coach or whatever. But I mean, is that a good example? I guess. I mean, I just kind of the idea, which is you're of that age. You haven't played into compound interest. You haven't like really tried to. I mean, by the way, you could have blinded trusts and, you know, different ways of building wealth. I don't think you should go as far as Nancy Pelosi and basically like trade stocks after committee hearings. I think that's probably a little ambitious, right? But I actually prefer my politicians to be successful. I know that's a weird statement, but people that own nothing, it might be like really appealing on the surface, but then I wonder, do they know how wealth is created?
It's indicative of something deeper that could be an issue. I think
so.
Yeah.
Again, there's plenty of good Republicans, I'm sure, that own nothing and they run for office, and that's great. But generally, I do want someone that knows here's the key. Poverty is human norm. Go to any country around the world, most people are in poverty. Wealth is the exception. How do you get wealthy is the most important, like, economic issue in front of us. It's actually a really hard issue to solve. We know how to solve it. Markets is how you get wealthy. That's it, okay? Private property, trade, rule of law, can't steal people's stuff. We're going to enforce those laws. It works. Decent, virtuous society. Okay, so we know how to be poor, not hard. I actually want people in office that know how to create wealth. I think that's a really important question.
And then the opposite of that, though, with, you know, tickers like NANC that track the trades
you should totally follow Nancy Pelosi's trade. That is grotesque. That's a totally different thing.
So how do we crack down on that? And to what degree
we
is
should
it
make
a problem?
it illegal. Josh Hawley's act is very good. I think it's called the Stock Act or something.
See, here's what I think. I made this in a video years ago when the whole Nancy Pelosi tracker came up. I thought it would be a great idea for just anyone in Congress to signal their trades publicly in real time 24 hours before they plan to make them. And that's it. And they could trade whatever they want to, but they just have to signal 24 hours in advance. That's it.
I have no issue with that. I think it's great. I would go a step further. I don't think any member of Congress should be trading stock, period, whatsoever.
Individual stocks, but they could buy ETFs.
It should be, sure. I think, yes, fine. I think it should be complete moratorium on individual stocks. They know way more than they're telling you.
I think that would be impossible to enforce because they would claim that, well, I don't trade. I have a financial advisor who's trading on my behalf in an irrevocable trust that I don't own. And they just happened to buy all these defense stocks before, you know, Iran started bombing Israel.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I just
that was coincidence.
I bought all the pharmaceutical stocks before COVID, right? Exactly. I don't know the enforcement. I spend a lot of time in DC. It's a disgusting city. It's repulsive. There's a lot more information that these people know than they're ever letting on. And they're getting wealthier while most Americans don't have access to that information. I think your idea is great. The kind of public, you know, beacon, if you will. We have insider trading laws for a reason. And what these congressmen do is like the definition of insider trading.
But the penalty is so small. Like if they don't report their trades, they have 30 days to report them. And if they don't do that, the fee I think is either $200 or it's $1,000. It's pennies basically.
It needs to be severe criminal penalties, in my opinion. I'm very populist on this question because look, most people in this audience, they would love to know what's going on in a SCIF. They would love, which is a secure compartmentalized information facility where there's no phones. It's just a bunch of generals giving you classified information about, I don't know, a new Wuhan leak or a new war, or they would love to know whether or not an electric vehicle mandate is going to be attached to the reconciliation bill or not. And then they're able to make trades on that information. So I don't know. I'm very populist on this thing. I think we should just put an end to all of it.
What do you think about things like Trump's meme coin? Do you think something like that was an overall smart or not very?
I don't know. I know Eric really well. He's the one that's pushing it. I mean, look, I know the Trump family, so I'm not going to speak against them. They're all friends of mine. I don't know enough about it. I get a lot of questions about it on college campuses. I know people that have made money on it. Like, I don't know. Like, I'll say this when it comes to like crypto in general, I'm very supportive of it. I know it's largely like a Trump family endeavor. Technically, he did promote it before he became president. I know a lot of people kind of rolled their eyes at it. Here's my statement, and people can laugh at it. He got shot, so he's allowed to launch a meme coin. That's my statement.
So anybody who gets shot,
no, I'm half. It's sarcasm.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not gonna get into the details of defending it. That's a question for Eric or Don.
What are your thoughts on Bitcoin?
I'm a big fan of Bitcoin.
Should the U.S. do a Bitcoin reserve?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, the United States should have a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
And who should pay for the Bitcoin reserve?
That's a good question. Hopefully, some of the tariff money could potentially do that. The reason why I think we should have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, I know you guys had Michael Saylor on your show, and I think he's onto something. There is something called like the mass adoption theory, which is over a period of time, like the English language, US dollar, things just catch on and they're just kind of volitional and there's no stopping it. I think Bitcoin is that. You got to watch out though. Quantum computing could potentially crack cryptography.
But if they do that, then they're also cracking bank accounts.
Right.
And stock trading accounts.
So quantum is the only asterisk on all this. But I think Saylor is onto something very profound, which is that because Bitcoin is a legitimately scarce resource, that it's probably going to go nowhere but up. So Saylor makes a very provocative argument that Bitcoin could go up 10x over the next 10 years or something like that, which therefore, if we start a Bitcoin strategic reserve, it could pay for the national debt and like basically cover our losses on the deficit. But I think that I think the United States government should be invested in crypto without a doubt.
I tend to agree with Michael Saylor that it's more likely to go to 1 million than 0.
Yes, I think that's right. And by the way, so you have a problem of the world's richest people. They don't know where to put their money. So there's only so many penthouses in London and Paris that they could buy. There's only so many ranches in Wyoming that they could buy. And so we had this problem. So you create all this money, the money goes upwards to wealth inequality point, to your earlier point. The question is then, well, what do rich people do with money? There's only so many equities they can buy. There's only so many shares in NVIDIA and Apple and Microsoft they could justify. Well, money needs to find a home, and it's found a home in Bitcoin. And so once it has mass adoption and literally the wealthiest families on the planet are starting to park serious monies in Bitcoin. And because it's scarce, it's easy to transfer, and it's just a winner. Sometimes there's a mass adoption and it just rises to the surface. And I think Bitcoin is that.
Speaking of the national debt, at what point do you think it's going to become a major problem?
I think it already is.
Do you see any solvable way that we could address this? Because it seems as though if Trump's big, beautiful bill passes, it's just going to get 2 trillion higher.
Yeah, so that's over 10 years. So I do find issue with some of those estimates. I don't want to get too deep into that. That's kind of a wonky, we'll lose the audience on CBO estimates, Congressional Budget Office estimates.
Right.
I think we need to cut a lot more spending. I wish more Republicans wanted to agree. I know Donald Trump agrees. He's just very frustrated with some of the Republicans on Capitol Hill that don't want to cut it. So here's the worst thing we could do, though. The worst thing we could do out of all the options is not grow. So the worst of all the options is not grow. So when you have a big debt, that's bad. Not growing with a big debt is catastrophic. Growing with a big debt is somewhat manageable. Growing with cutting your debt is awesome. That would be the best possible scenario. So the calculus is, okay, we have a big debt. Let's at least try to have the debt outpace 2 things. The rate of the increase of the debt to GDP ratio and the rate of inflation. If GDP can grow faster than inflation and grow faster than the rate of the debt to GDP ratio, then we're in a manageable place. So that's what the premise of a lot of these tax cuts of the bill is, right? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, right? The depreciation, the extension of the Trump tax cuts, all of which I support because you need a pro-growth agenda. Because when you're a debtor nation and you have no growth, then you're going to be in a really bad spot.
I'm sure a lot of you guys remember that last year, we actually had none other than Jordan Peterson here on this podcast. And on top of that just being an incredible episode, it was a massive personal milestone for me because I've listened to him for several years and he has absolutely changed my life with his lectures. Well, I'm so excited to announce a very special update from that episode. We have actually partnered with Peterson Academy to sponsor today's episode.
For those unaware, Peterson Academy is Jordan Peterson's online university, and it's open for enrollment right now. If you love learning, want to study under world-class professors, or have ever gained anything from Dr. Peterson's books, podcasts, or lectures, then this platform's for you.
Every single month, Peterson Academy releases 4 new, in-depth, 8-hour university-level courses taught by top experts across philosophy, history, psychology, science, business, and more. These courses are seriously designed to keep you guys engaged, and they offer optional testing to solidify your understanding. Plus, there's also an online community where you can connect with other curious and ambitious learners.
And it gets even better because Peterson Academy is getting funding, and so they've dropped the price from $599 $299 down to $399 for the year for access to more than 40 courses, with 4 new ones being added every single month. They also offer you a 7-day money-back guarantee, so there's no reason not to try it.
Just go to petersonacademy.com/ICH today to get started. Again, that is petersonacademy.com/ICH to start learning today. You guys will absolutely love it. Thank you so much to Peterson Academy for sponsoring this episode.